Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this morning's Vision 6 Power Session. It's a trap. I'm Admiral. Oh, sorry. Oh, let me just delete that there. My name's Andy, the Vision 6 trainer here in Brisbane, and I'll be taking you through today's Vision 6 Power Session, where we're going to explore how to avoid the spam trap and the dreaded junk folder that exists in a lot of email clients. So we'll have a look at some ways, some tips and tricks to make sure our email doesn't land in those areas. So how do we avoid the dreaded junk folder? Today we're going to run through three different areas. We're going to look at some visual and design tips that you can employ within your email design itself, and to look at some different ways that your email can, from a visual point of view and a coding point of view, not land up in the spam trap. Also some content tips and tricks as well. So some different ways as to the wording we can use in our email, or words we should perhaps not use in the email, again, not to trip up those spam filters. And then of course, configuration things you can do in Vision 6 as well, just to ensure that the email makes it through to the right location on the recipient's end. Okay, so let's start with visual and design tips. So one of the things that I've seen over my many years looking at different emails and working within email marketing is that there's always a varied range of email designs that people use. There's some where I've seen that are just pretty much all text and possibly a logo or two at the top and bottom. And I've also seen emails which are 100% completely made out of pictures. There is no actual selectable text as such at all in the email. It's all, photos, and all the actual text is written onto the image or the photo itself. The issue with having too much of one or the other is when the way spam traps work and spam analysis software works is it looks at varying aspects of your email. It looks at lots of different things and builds together a score. So these things can be the configuration of your email address, what type of email address are you sending from? Is it a free account like a Gmail, or is it a proper business domain? Does the email contain a lot of images or a lot of text? So all of these things play a small role in the score or the weighting that these spam filters and spam systems will use to rank your email and decide whether it's spam or not. At the end of the day, it's all artificial intelligence. So what we can do, there's a couple of different things there, is ensure that we have a good text to image ratio. So don't have an email that is all just text with no images whatsoever, where possible. And also on the flip side, don't have an email that's completely just made of images as well. The other issue with having an email that's just all images and no selectable text is that it leaves out those users who may have a vision impairment because their screen reader software isn't able to interpret anything within that email. There's no actual text it can read out. It's all embedded inside a picture. So it's very important from an accessibility point of view as well, just to make sure that your email is able to be utilized by as many people as possible. And the same is true for people who use their assistant on their phone, or if you've got one of those Google Assistant speakers or something like that, Siri on your iPhone, etc. If you've got one of those tools reading out emails to you, for example, on the way home in the car or something like that, again, those tools can't read the email if it's just all made up of 100% pictures. There's no text in there it can read out. So you're missing a large segment of your audience in that regard as well. And the email length as well can play an important part as to whether or not it makes its way into an inbox. So if you're using a lot of large images that are taking up a lot of space within the email, physical space in terms of the file size as well as dimensions, again, that can cause some issues as well, where the email will just get clipped by Gmail and Outlook, and only the first part of it will make it through. The user manually has to click something to view the rest of the email, to view the full email. This is, I guess, an important thing to think about when you're designing e-newsletters. Sometimes I see when people design e-newsletters is they'll pop the whole article into the newsletter, and lots of articles, because it's a sort of a collection of articles in the newsletter, instead of just having maybe a couple of teaser paragraphs to introduce the article and then allow the user to click through to read more. Again, the issue with doing that is to putting the full article in there is not only does it make it a very long email, but also you have no real insights as to whether people are reading the full article or not. Whereas if you just have short snippets and link off to a blog or the rest of the content somewhere else, you can use the Vision 6 reports to get insight and work out who's reading what content what content is of interest to your users as well. So it means you can design emails with a much better impact in future because you've got that data to back it up there as well. So just on that top point there, text and image ratio, there is a spam check in Vision 6, which I'll show you in a moment to show you if there's any issues with that. And of course, with the email length, the click map report can highlight any issues with that as well and allow you to have a look and just see what parts of the email your users are clicking through to. So if we have a look at the spam check, here's an example email I've got open in my Vision 6. And you can see here that I've actually pasted in the list of words that you shouldn't use in an email or in an email subject. So if you just have a look on Google, words you shouldn't use in an email in terms of getting into the spam trap. So you can see there's things like 100% free, 100% satisfied, we accept credit card, all these different words. There's a long list of words here that you shouldn't use in an email. And I just got this from Google. But to use the Vision 6 spam checking tool on your email, you go into the preview function over here. It opens up the little preview window, which you're probably familiar with. But on the top right there, there's the spam check button. So if we just click that, it gives our email a spam score. So it analyzes the email message. And you can see here that I've got a score of 9.9, which I think is the highest you can get. Anything with a score greater than 5 is more likely to be classified as spam. And you'll see it's because of this scoring system here. I'm using words like visit the pharmacy, online pharmacy. I'm using a lot of long words. My from address is a free address, like I think I've used my Gmail address. Again, I'm using certain keywords in here that like bad credit, that spam filters are looking for. So I guess this is a great example. I've literally pasted all of the words you shouldn't use into one email just to see what it would do. And of course, as you can see there, it's getting one of the worst scores possible. So have a look at this spam check. It's in the preview function of Vision 6 over here, and just run that on your email before you send it and just have a look if there's any issues there. And it shows you how to interpret the results as well. And this is just using the Spam Assassin tool, which is a very widely implemented spam checking tool to scan your email. So this email I can pretty much guarantee will end up in the spam box for someone. As another example I mentioned there when it came to email length as well, instead of pasting the full article into your newsletter, like this example here, I've just popped in some short information to introduce the article, and the person can click through to the read more to be able to read more about those particular areas in my newsletter. It keeps the e-newsletter fairly short and concise. It's more digestible by the user. And again, when I mentioned before, if you view the report for an email and go to our click map report, you may have seen this one before. We actually had a power session on this last year. It shows you what parts of the email users are clicking on. So again, you can use this to see that, oh, okay, no one clicked on my article about XYZ, but lots of people clicked on my article about ABC. Okay, people must be interested in that topic. Let's use that in future emails because it's obviously successful. It's going to drive engagement, improve click-throughs. And at the end of the day, that's what we're using an email platform for, to inform people and possibly to get them to purchase or go onto a website and perform some other function. So again, the click map report is fantastic for that. And by having those sort of links off to different articles, instead of putting the full one in there, that's where you get that insight as to how people are engaging with your content. So we've covered design tips, and now we're going to have a look at content tips. So a little bit as I touched on before, that choice of words there, just make sure that you aren't using words which are super sales heavy. So those things like 100% free, discounts, all those sorts of things. And of course, the more of them that you use, the more that will play within the weighting on your email spam score. So again, just be aware of those. And there are lists available on Google, on other websites, which you can find through Google, that will allow you to get you some, I guess, insights as to what words and phrases to particularly stay away from where possible. Subject line is another one as well. So at the end of the day, the subject line is what drives someone to open an email. That's that sort of split-second decision where they have a look at who the email was from and what the subject line is to decide whether or not they're going to press the bin icon or swipe or click on it to actually read the email itself. So from a content point of view, some good ideas for the subject there would be to use around 3 to 6 words is generally what they say or what research has shown is a good length of subject line, and around about 20 characters in total for your subject lines as well. The other thing is you can do there is, of course, in Vision 6, you can personalize your subject line by inserting things like a wildcard, like the person's first name, or if you know the person is, for example, gluten-free and you're doing a mail out to, for your bakery or something like that, if you've got that data available on your contact list, use it to your advantage. If someone, say myself, is gluten-free and I'm getting an email from a bakery to say that there's stuff on sale and it's something that I would be interested in, of course I'm going to click on that email. Whereas if it didn't have that information or that personalization within the subject line or the email itself, I might go, this bakery doesn't have anything that I can, enjoy eating, so I may choose to delete that email, or even worse, unsubscribe from the list. So some just different ideas you can use there about the personalization aspect of your communications. And the other great thing is when you personalize an email, you're essentially making, I guess to a degree, unique versions of that email. So let's just say you're the artificial intelligence running at Gmail or running on an email server, and you've just, you've used Vision 6 and just sent out 10,000 emails about a sale you've got on. And a lot of the people on your list might be Gmail users or Hotmail users, something like that. Now, if I'm the spam system running at Gmail or Outlook and I see thousands of emails coming into my system within the space of 10 minutes, all with the same subject line and content, I'm sort of going to go, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Someone's spamming. Or they might just, obviously, the spam filter will kick in then and analyze what's going on. Whereas if your emails are personalized and they're almost slightly unique, they've got different first names, they've got different content within the email using Vision 6's conditional content function, the emails that the system is receiving are all slightly different from one another. And again, it will all play towards that spam score and ensuring your email gets received and goes into the inbox instead. Then finally, we've covered design tips and content tips. We've got some configuration tips as well. And these are things you can do in Vision 6, as well as on your end in some circumstances, just again to help your emails come through into the right folder and not hit that sort of spam folder or junk folder in your recipients. A key one is domain configuration. If you've looked at your Vision 6 reports and are finding that a lot of your emails are bouncing or they're ending up, your open rate is really low compared to what you thought it might be on your emails, often it's because your email may be going into the spam or junk folder because your domain is not configured in Vision 6. So this is generally what our support team will recommend as the first thing to do if you're having any deliverability issues. And it's a fairly easy process to do. You only need to do it once in your Vision 6 account. And it involves going into the settings area at the top right, the little cog icon here, then the domains tab, and you can add your domain in here. We do have some instructions and a video that walks you through why this is important. The video is quite good, funny little animated video there, and it will show you how to basically add your domain in here. I've actually got the article open, so if you visit the Vision 6 Support Center, which you can just go to support.vision6.com.au or press the question mark icon in Vision 6 itself, search for emails going to spam, and there's the little video there that walks you through how to set it up and why it's important, as well as the actual steps you'll need to take within Vision 6 to set that up. It does involve a couple of things that you would do with your IT provider or web provider. They've got to add a couple of records into your domain name itself, but there is a little button in Vision 6 where you can actually send all the instructions to your IT or web person anyway. So just pop their email on there and you can send it across, and everything they need to do is outlined for them there. Of course, you can do it yourself too if you've got access to your domain. But essentially what that does is it allows Vision 6 to send on behalf of your email address, because that's essentially what we're doing. You've got an email address registered, you're using it, but without this configuration, we don't necessarily, from a server level and then a technical level in terms of the setup, have permission to send on your behalf. So the configuration will fix 99% generally of any issues you've got with email deliverability. Now, if you're sending emails internally, so say you've got a couple of thousand staff and are using Vision 6 to send out staff emails to everyone within the company, and you're finding that the messages aren't going into the inbox in that regard, you can also ask your IT team to whitelist our IP addresses. Again, we have a help article on that too. If you come into Vision 6 and just search for IP address or something like that, you'll get this article here, which outlines what the IPs are. And if they are whitelisted within, or if you ask your internal IT team to whitelist them, it's essentially sending allow email from this address to come through. That's how you'll find that your emails will land in the inbox instead of the junk folder. That second one is more for internal emails. So if you're sending to your own company with Vision 6, external is this one here. But it's always a good idea to set them both up anyway, I suppose. A third one there on the configuration tips, in order to get a good sender reputation, is to only send to legitimate contacts in the first place. So people that have opted in and specifically asked for your emails. If they've opted in, filled in a form, or given you permission to email to them, then they're going to be contacts that want your content because they've asked for it in the first place. So these people are less likely to click the mark as spam button. They're less likely to unsubscribe, etc., than if you purchased a list, which just as a side note is not permitted with Vision 6. So the sender reputation is essentially what other servers think of your email address and the emails that you send from it. So if you get a low bounce rate, no complaints, then of course that will keep your sender reputation high, and your email will be delivered more successfully in future because you have a good sender reputation anyway. And of course, another thing you can do is those contacts that have unsubscribed from Vision 6, from your email communications with Vision 6, or if their emails have bounced, maybe the email doesn't exist anymore, or there was a typo in the address and you're not sure what the correct one is, you can delete those contacts from Vision 6 if you want to. All you need to do is come into the contact section here on the left-hand side, and you'll be able to see them because they'll be highlighted with a strike through them or a red icon. But you can also use the search function here to search for contacts that have unsubscribed or deactivated. And then you can delete them from Vision 6. You could potentially save a little bit on your monthly fees there as well, of course, because you're not paying for those contacts. Now, often I'll get the question right at this point that says, hang on a minute, if I'm deleting my unsubscribed contacts, what if I accidentally import them again in future? The good thing is that Vision 6 has a master unsubscribe list sitting behind the scenes. You can still get to it and look at it and add people to it, but it's always sitting there behind the scenes. So if someone unsubscribes and then you delete them from your contact list, they will still be unsubscribed in the master list sitting in the background. So that's your safety net. And you don't pay for any of the contacts in that master list sitting in the background for unsubscribed. So yeah, just a little good side note there. So a couple of different tips just to round that out on the configuration side of things. Definitely set that up in your platform if it isn't already. A quick tip to check if it is set up. Again, come into the cog icon on the top right, Domains tab. You'll see here mine are not configured. So currently, even though I've added my domain, it's not making any difference because they're not configured. So I would then need to go into my domain provider and set this up. There are some instructions provided under View Details. And then our system checks every now and then to see if it has been set up. And this little light here, the little indicator will turn green and it will say configured. You can also manually force the check by pressing the three little dots and going test and check. And it just goes and checks to see if it's been set up yet in my domain, which it hasn't, so it's still coming up not configured. So have a look in your Vision 6 in this domain area here. And if you don't have that set up, you can press learn more here, go to the help article, and it will walk you through the process of setting that up. You will generally find that once you've done that, more people will be receiving your emails and they won't be landing in the spam filter as much if that's currently an issue. It may not be an issue, that's fine. Second one there, ask your IT team to set up whitelisting. That's if you're sending a lot of emails from Vision 6 to your own organization, your own domain. Only send to legitimate contacts, of course, so those that have opted in. Sender reputation, you can view some information about that in terms of your bounce rate and your complaints on the reports section. And of course, you can remove those contacts that have unsubscribed. So just on that second last point there, how do I see if someone has bounced or if someone has complained on a report? So this is it here, come into the reports section, open up one of your email send reports. And here you will see that one of my addresses I sent to has bounced, and I can click on that to see who it is. A little bit further down, luckily no one has complained about this send, but if you do get any complaints, that will come up here. In terms of a complaint, it's usually when someone pushes that mark as spam button in Outlook, Gmail, and other providers. There's a little button that comes up, says mark as spam or set as spam, something like that. If anyone presses that button, it comes through as a complaint. Very important to keep this as low as possible, ideally 0 all the time for each send, because what can happen is if you start getting complaints from people, the email system that they used, Outlook, Gmail, etc., can start blocking emails from you, even to those contacts that legitimately want your content. It'll just blanket block everything from you if you get lots of complaints. So just always keep an eye on that one there. And it's another good reason why you should only use opted-in contacts to send to anyway, because they're not going to complain if they've opted in. And the last one there, of course, you can delete unsubscribed and deactivated contacts from your list if you wish to. And with all of these, we do have the help articles available. If you wanted to know a little bit more, how do I do that? That last step there, there's an article that will assist you with the process with some screenshots as well. My name's Andy. Thank you very much for joining today's Power Sessions. Thanks again. Have a great day.